Good afternoon. Afternoon, everybody. Hope you are well. Rohan, how you doing? Paul, how you doing, pal? Bad trading week. What trades have you taken, mate? Have you lost any more than you should have lost, basically, or have you over risked or anything? Because if you've not done any of them, then it's okay, I guess. You know, shit happens. Unfortunately, even me myself, I've had a bad few months. Well, I would have had a decent August had I caught pound Aussie, but that's another story. But yeah, it just happens, mate. As long as you're doing the right things and you're keeping your risk sentiment, you're taking the right trades, even if it's a losing trade, it's kind of irrelevant, is it, in the grand scheme of things? You never know. One of the things that I always say to myself is you never know when that big run is coming, right? So I've had a quiet, small stop loss. Okay, good. I've had a quiet summer, right? There's no doubt about it. I've had a quiet summer. Obviously, I would have had a nice August. But anyway, I'm going to get past that. I'm going to try and get past that pound Aussie trade. But anyway. But one of the things I always say is you never know when that big trade or that big week is coming around the corner. And every losing trade gets you closer to that kind of winning run, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. So, you know, it takes 1 week. It can take 1 month. You never know. Today, next week, maybe October or November, you might have a smashing month. And then, you know, what I used to do is look back on the stupid things I did before and say, shit, if I hadn't done that, I would have made X amount. You know what I mean? So as long as you stick to the same things and just be patient, then you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But, you know, as you know, I know you've been trading for a while. It sucks, doesn't it? It's a horrible, it's been boring this summer. But hey ho, that's the game we play, right? As long as we play it better than that 95%, we'll be all right. Okay. Let's talk markets, shall we? Let's start with this SPX. So the SPX, I was saying in my stream, I'm not sure, Rohan, if you were in that stream yesterday, whether I trusted this move to the downside or not. I didn't actually trust it. You know, it could have been coming to the downside, but I didn't trust this big impulse because we've seen many times, you know, I've seen it back here, these impulses on US Open basically come back up. And that's kind of what we're getting now. So if we focus on this daily chart, we're not breaching this trend line yet. You know, it's not actually a bad candle, a bad daily candle. The only thing kind of negatively going negative against it is the fact that we've really pushed on quite quickly these other times. Now, we haven't done that yet. So we could possibly be in for this before continuation to the downside. We could be. We'll have to wait and see. But, you know, the daily candle yesterday still looks good. If we get some bullish momentum today, and certainly a breakthrough roughly this 4-hour area here, which are kind of getting your V reversal pullback here, then that might be decent for stocks. And stocks pushing up, you may change your risk sentiment to say, well, you know, buying these commodity currencies, which kind of have been decently strong this morning, Aussie, New Zealand, CAD, against those risk-off currencies may make sense. And it might be a decent dip buying opportunity. But I would have to wait. I'm not going to say that now. I would wait for a breaking close above this area. You know, for me, if we get a breaking close above this area, it would make me a little bit more confident in that risk sentiment to say, do you know what? I fancy stocks to move to the upside. So waiting for that confirmation. Decent 4-hour bar above these moving averages now, but let's not discount the fact that we have come from a downward direction. So just let to see this play out and wait for that positive confirmation. So it may be, like you said, Paul, strange moves. You kind of do get those strange moves in these times as you're kind of aware. These pullbacks are often difficult to trade. Now, recently over summer, even these moves to the upside have been difficult to trade, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I'm waiting for that confirmation to hopefully play out. And if we do push through, you know, what we are looking for in the market is that momentum, is that follow through, right? If we get a push and close here, are people confident in this market? And do we see that strength in the Aussie? Do we see that strength in the commodities? Are we seeing follow through? Because if we see that, that's where personally I make my money. And, you know, trend continuation traders do make their money. So that's what we want to see as well. Just waiting for that confirmation. Dollar. The dollar is looking okay. Okay, we're not failing at this level. We have come down, tagged that area a few wicks above it. We haven't massively closed above that resistance zone. So saying dollar longs right now is not the right play. We'll have to wait to see what this pullback does, right? If this ends up being a pullback to around these moving averages, around that 40-60 box, you get a catalyst around there, possibly a hammer for potential trend continuation. Yeah, okay, that would make sense. Excuse me. That would make sense. Oh, that would make sense for a dollar continuation. But we never got that. I think I was saying this on Wednesday. We never got that close above that resistance area. Excuse me. God. I just turned my phone on silent. Sorry, guys. There we go. Yeah, I never got that confirmation. So it looks to be a pullback right now. That's for fuck's sake. It looks to be a pullback right now. But waiting for that catalyst around that 40-60 box for continuation to the upside. My bias is to the upside. The reason why is because of this decent, almost a Marabuzo candle that printed yesterday, which is certainly a bullish sign. And if you are a trend continuation trader and you see that, it kind of puts a little bit of doubt in your mind that this wants to continue down. I'm not saying it can't do that, depending on the next day or how Monday opens, but kind of changes your mind a little bit. It may be just a reaction roughly around the top of this channel, right? So yeah, we'll have to, again, same with the SPX, you're kind of in waiting for that confirmation of a pullback, or if it does indeed want to come back down. Bias right now has to be continuation of this recent trend, pullback to follow through, but we have to wait for that confirmation. All right, CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss is, every time I have one of these trades. Now, this hasn't hit TP1 yet. I think TP1 is roughly here. I've just taken it out because of price action right now. I think it's quite close. The only times I take TPs out, so TP at 1-to-1, is if I don't mind the price action and I'm looking at the charts. So, for example, if I finish at 5 o'clock this afternoon and I'm away, and it's not hit TP1, I'll put that TP1 back in. But right now, because of these smaller time frames, looks quite strong. Momentum is to the upside. So I'm just going to wait to see how it plays out. And if I can get a little bit more, then I'll be happy with that. Like I said, that's the only time that I do modify that TP1. But with this trade, the thing that every time I do something like this, and there's still doubt creeps into my personal mind. I remember those 2.5 years that I lost a lot of money and, doing the silly things. It's hard to get rid of that doubt. It still does linger. But every time this happens where I stick to my plan. Mohammed, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Happy Friday. Every time I stick to my plan and it moves up like this, it gives you that big boost of confidence that your strategy works and you've done something that you continue to do, that the right things that the 95% basically don't. So whatever happens now, I consider, I get a nice boost out of this because I know in my previous life of trading poorly, I would have been out of that trade. Irrespective if my stop was here, I would have taken that trade out. So I always like to see this because, again, you do this once, you do this twice, you do this a couple of times. They say 21 times makes a habit, right? Every time you see this and you think to yourself, well done, well done, Ryan. I didn't do anything stupid there. I kept my trade in and now I'm getting the rewards for it. So what could have been a 1.7% loss, let's say, is turning into a potentially, we don't know how far this is going to go. The daily looks great. I mean, that daily looks fantastic, right? Not saying this is going to move up, but, good bit of bullish pressure here. Outside bullish engulfer, inside bar, outside bullish engulfer. 20 period is curling over, pushing out of this, descending structure, descending channel. The daily looks great, and there's no telling how far this can go. So again, another thing that I think is if I had taken this out, okay, and it turned into a trade like the pound Aussie that I missed, where it just runs and runs and runs, how bloody annoyed with myself would I be that I took a loss when I could have had a 3R gain or something like that. So this is looking good. I like it. I'm just going to wait and see on that TP1. Like I said, if I do go away whenever I go away from the charts and it's not hit TP1, I'll put it in. But this looks good now, CAD Swiss. The other one I had was pound Aussie. This, unfortunately, was a loser this morning. So I took this on this 30-minute chart. A V reversal here. Volatility ABC, quite similar to the pound Aussie we missed. I'll stop talking about it, I promise. Push through, nice steady state retest on lowering volume. Engulfer as our catalyst on a higher volume, pushing on, and then just failed. Now, I was looking through, because whenever I have a losing trade, I always like to, even now, you like to analyze this kind of stuff and say, okay, what did I do wrong? The only thing I can think of here was, I mean, maybe did we need a pullback? Possibly. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think we needed a pullback? For me, in here, remember, we didn't know what was going to happen here. I like the fact that we had that correction through time back to that 20. I like the fact that we passed through that 61.8 on the daily. So, would I take that trade again? I think absolutely I would take that trade again. So that's one of my main things I think of when I take a trade that loses is, would I take it again? And yes, I probably would. So for me, I just consider that a losing trade. We were going with that trend. The trend was our friend. We pulled back to that 20. We were above those moving averages. We were breaking through this resistance area. We were past that 61.8, which should really indicate the line in the sand for trend continuation, albeit just past that 61.8. So, but maybe the only thing there would be, okay, maybe we'd had gone too far. But again, you look at this section, it did the same thing. Pound Aussie could certainly move the same amount, and it was a healthy trend. It wasn't like it was extended. So pound Aussie was unfortunately a loser for me this morning, but hey ho, that is the game we play. Okay, USD Swiss. USD Swiss is still setting up quite nicely. Decent setup, good context here. As I talked about Wednesday, we have pushed through, so I'm waiting for a retest of this area to go to the upside. So retest, catalyst on volume to take that to the upside. Whether this goes or not, it may indeed go, because this context is quite nice. But I'll be keeping an eye on that just in case it does retest. And if it does, I'll certainly get in on that. Pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand is one that is still okay. Looking at this now, this is a counter trend trade. We've got our cup with handle. We've got our A, B, C. The good thing is we're getting that C wave on increased volume, which is nice. Push through, we've kind of faked out here. So what I would like to see now, because we have got a morning star, we have got a fake, is if we come down, we don't want to breach these lows. Ideally, we get another reload here, which means the breakout retest is, the breakout is still on. The breakout retest right now would be on if it breaks through. The breakout is not on. So I would need this kind of fake to digest, give us another higher low, another squeeze and pressure into this area to take that break to the upside. We've still got movement there in that 20, but it is counter trend. And we can see here, context looks more bearish than it does bullish. However, I don't mind that setup. So I'm just going to continue to watch it. And for these counter trend moves, if they set up quite nicely, I'll take it because of the potential risk reward you get on them. So pound New Zealand, I'll keep an eye on. EA, I think EA is still okay. Potential break and retest from this bigger V reversal. I think it really needs to go now and create something like this to be able to get us into it, because of this decent Aussie strength we had over Asia. So if we get a push on, we need something like this, another reload to be able to take that to the upside. The pattern's there, the context is there. It's becoming a little bit messier. So I'll keep an eye on it, but it may not be something that I take, to be honest with you. Let's wait and see. I'll keep it on, but I'm not massively confident about it. This German 30 has gone. You can see there a fake off the 200, so I won't even bother with that. New Zealand yen. New Zealand yen, again, I mean, the setups today are okay, but they're not amazing. We've got our V reversal. We've got to take this out. I've got to take this one out as well. It's just breached through this area that we didn't want to breach through. So this would have to reset up for me now, something like this, to be able to get us into it. So yeah, I mean, it's not a high probability trade anymore, certainly if it is counter trend. So I'd rather not trade that than look at it, to be honest with you. NZD/JPY. USD Hong Kong dollar. Okay, this is one that I do kind of like. We've got our head and shoulders here on the smaller time frames. The good thing is we did have a push, but with the price action right now, I know we've slightly breached it, but it's okay. As long as we come down, get another reload, breakout, retest the downside. Now, the good thing about that is our 200 will probably be above price action, 20 period curling over. So we've got that double whammy of dynamic resistance to price, as well as our resistance area, or old support becoming new resistance. Now, the daily context is good because we've had a push down in that corrective, and we've had this hammer bar here that printed yesterday. So if we do get a movement down, this hammer bar provides us that higher time frame confluence. But it is on a decent move on the 4-hour chart. We just need that confirmation. So waiting for that to potentially set up. Because of that confluence we've got on the daily, because of this move to the downside, because of what looks like a channel corrective, it makes sense for me. And if we do break under, we're also breaking under these 4-hour moving averages and this kind of structure here. So you can kind of see your head and shoulders here on the 4-hour chart. So whether that is the end of this potential corrective or not, we'll have to wait and see. But it looks not too bad. I like USD Hong Kong dollar. I've traded it, I think, I've traded it a few times, but I like its movement. It seems to be getting to one of the pairs that I really like to trade, along with the Swiss yen, Kiwi dollar, and USAR. But I do like the USD Hong Kong dollar. USD Hong Kong dollar, if the DXY pushes up, this falls down. So it's got that inverse relationship with the DXY. China 50, the China 50 is still setting up. We know what we're looking for here. Cup with handle, looking for a potential cup with handle, within a cup with handle. Bit of bullish pressure here, but nothing worrying us at the moment. So another reload, and it would look good for potential downward action if it does break on that China 50. USD CAD. Now, USD CAD, you could actually place your order here now because of what happened yesterday. Stops underneath here. What I'm waiting for on USD CAD is something on this 4-hour chart to get me in. So you can see we're kind of going into this trend line trajectory, this squeeze into the area, as long as we see some bullish pressure here. So if I get, what time is it now? 1. So this 4-hour will close in about 4 hours and 40 minutes. If we get something like this, some bullish pressure off this area, then I will put my breakout order on this daily chart. I'm not going to take it on the 4-hour because the 4-hour is slightly messy because of this section here, which could turn into this. But if we get some bullish pressure here, that would be enough for me to put my order in on the daily with my stops here. So I don't mind that. I like this price action here, this kind of coiling effect, accumulation underneath this area. I like this bar yesterday. We got train tracks here, bullish 180. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a bearish bar followed by a bullish bar that is essentially the same range. You can call it bullish 180, bearish 180 for the other way, or train tracks. So again, just looking for that little bit of bullish confirmation on that USD CAD to take that breakout if indeed it does break out. EURUCAD. EURUCAD is back on the list because of this hammer yesterday, but because of where we come from, I would need a bit more of a push here. The good thing is we're getting that 200 coming down, so if we do get a breakout roughly around this area, it will be above that. But we would need probably price action to come like this, let that 20 come up to take that breakout. 200 will be roughly around there on EURUCAD, depending on the stocks. If the stocks push up, you'd expect that CAD to strengthen up and this to come down. But this is certainly a bullish bar on the daily. See if it's respecting that 20. But just need some bullish pressure on EURUCAD. Looks okay, but not ready right now. And finally, USD check. USD check on the 4-hour. Potential cup with handle here. Counter trend trade. So we're looking for possibly something like this to get us in. This price action over the last 8 hours. It's not ideal. So what we would want it to turn into is potentially a smaller V reversal, something like that, or our complex AB shallow C or an AB full C to take this to the upside. So that will depend on the DXY. Obviously, with that 200, if we're getting this price action, we're expecting that break to be above that 200, which is breakouts that I do like to take. If we do get a break above the area, again, it'll be above these moving averages, and it'll kind of go into the vein of whether this be a pullback or a change in trend. So, I'm happy to take that as a potential counter trend trade because, again, of the risk reward. We've got a bit of movement to the upside here, but it needs to set up properly. I don't take counter trend trades on like a B setup, if that makes sense. If we've got a counter trend trade, we need something really nice. So, for example, this pound New Zealand, you can see that it's a lot kind of nicer. You can see a clear basing structure there, a nice ABC. Push on, good volume coming in at C wave. We've had our fake out. So if we do get that extra layer, you've kind of got that cup with handle. You've got that ABC, but also you've got your cup and your head and shoulders as well. Ideally, a bit of volume obviously coming on that break. You've got a bit of room there on that 200. So, during those counter trend trades, getting that high probability setup that just looks like it's about to pop, if that makes sense, are the ones that I do personally like. But, for me, I'm not going to take this breakout now, just firstly by experience, but also by looking at it. If we've had this fake here, I want this fake to kind of digest. If it doesn't, then yeah, okay, I can look for the breakout retest to go long. I mean, counter trend, it's more, your added protection is that breakout retest, but a lot of these counter trend moves that do go often break out and don't retest anyway. So, but we just have to be aware on that daily chart. You're not going to get everything your way on counter trend moves. I don't often trade them. Obviously, more I'm going with the trend, but if I do find a setup I do like, I certainly will take it. All right, guys, I think that's it. If anybody wants me to look at anything, let me know now. I am back to almost full fitness, thankfully. Typically, before I was ill, I had about 15 watching, but it just shows you what happens when you go away for a week. But anyway, I appreciate you all coming back. I appreciate the new subs. If you like the streams, hit that like button. But yeah, let me know if you want me to look at anything now. If not, I will be away for a quiet weekend. No drinking for me this weekend because I'm on antibiotics, unfortunately. I think I've lost about 2 kilos already. So, that's the positive about having a kidney infection. All right, guys, I appreciate you being here. I will see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend and trade safe. Peace.